I don't know if people saw the issue with spoiler alert if you didn't see AEW Forbidden Door. Will Ospreay lost to Swerve Strickland. And a couple days, I'm starting to talk wrestling
Really?
talk way early. Yeah, he lost, and a couple days after, I think it was a Fightful Select report came out, and they said that they. I don't want to say they were like cleaning things up or caping whatever, but they were like, look, let me get the report. They said, just so y'all know, yeah, sources within AEW and then close to Ospreay confirmed to Sean Ross Sapp that Ospreay, it was Ospreay who reached out to higher ups within AEW, noting his desire to put Strickland over. A longtime friend of Strickland's, Ospreay wanted to rid of the belief that Swerve's title reign was merely a placeholder until he was supposed to get the belt at Wembley Stadium at All In, which has been the. Because he's from the UK and they do the UK show, everybody thought he was going to win the title at the UK. Yeah, I mean, the writing's on the wall, but that's what pro wrestling people do. So, what's that nigga name? Slick? Slick got on the Yamin, was talking about, oh, well, that's the
Been on in a minute.
That's what he said. He said, that's the media. The media don't need to be asking those questions. I said, brother Slick. I'm like, brother Slick. I understand what you're saying because I got when I read the report, I was like, it looked kind of white savory. Like I don't know if I needed him to come out and say or have a report come out this quick and say, hey, the British man made sure that he put his back on the mat on purpose so the black man ain't got to look a certain way or whatever they want it to be. I was like, I understand. You know, you're. I don't know.
Didn't that happen with Kofi Mania too, though? Didn't
Low-key.
he come out and say, well, Daniel Bryan wanted to... Isn't that the same?
Low-key. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think, honestly, I don't know if that's necessary on either count. When the person wins the title, if you want to have that conversation, get that shit to me in the documentary. Give it to me like they usually do 3, 4, 5 months later when the actual news gets confirmed or whatever. Like, I don't need it that week or like 2 weeks later because it feels away. But Slick was like, you don't need to be asking these questions at all for the media to be doing that because they perpetuate these stories. And I said, Slick, you got to remember, they may only have a couple questions with these people. If they ask Will Ospreay a question about the match, and that's the response that Will Ospreay gives you for that match, or whatever story that they putting out there, you either print it or you don't have a Will Ospreay story. I mean, you can't fault the media. I think like this one, it says like a number of people have said, if there's certain optics or certain situations that you don't want out there, there's probably a certain way you should present the information or make sure that people aren't fanning any flames. And clearly that's not being done. And Will Ospreay is one person who he definitely gets in there and wants to speak his mind. So you either got to train him or not worry about it.
Do you believe it?
Do I believe that Will Ospreay they put the longtime friend thing in? I wouldn't be surprised. It feels weird reading that he's like going out there trying to prove a point to, like, again, that if this is true, I don't want to hear about it. Let him do that for that locker room, and then hopefully his example can push whatever, interest that they want throughout that locker room.
My initial reaction was, really? And I just left it at that. And then when you came in and said, Fightful said, that's when I was like, okay. So I think I'm with you. It should have never been said.
It feels kind of press releasey.
It feels very press releasey.
Here's my thing, though. We wouldn't have to. That wouldn't have to be said if that's not what people want.
Well,
like, that's the reality. Like we're like, yeah, he didn't have to say that, but the reality is that's what people was thinking anyway.
Right.
That's right.
Just like Bash in Berlin.
Yeah, it's like it's not. It's the thing is like we and I'm not even going to say this is Swerve's fault, but when you have a lack of investment in story, a lack of investment in the product overall, where it's kind of like at a lull a little bit, it's on a downside. These are things that people are going to think, and did Will Ospreay have to say it? No, but also too, Will Ospreay is British. When you look at British culture, how British people communicate, how they talk, they're very matter of factly, they're very direct, and they're not going to date. Like Americans are so obsessed with PR, and the rest of the world just does not give a shit about that.
They don't like sugarcoat shit.
Like, and the reality is this: he would have had to say that if Swerve felt like a stronger champion. The reality is he don't. So that's why he said what he said. Because if we didn't, if Swerve felt like the man, like you never have nobody saying that about Roman Reigns. Oh, Roman Reigns.
Jesus!
You never had
Roman's an outlier though. The one thing I heard this week is I was listening to one of them shows and one of the talking heads, and they alluded to it being like Swerve being looked that way because he was black. Like they didn't say it, but
that he needed some type of
right. And so people are saying, you know, it's quiet for the transitional champion niggas now. And yes, and they, you know, they had the match they had, and they, you know, because I even last week or the week before, I think I saw online the old clip of them niggas in a match and two-stepping and dancing and all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that really kind of starts to tell this story. Mm-hmm. But the thing I said from the very first presser that Ospreay did was when they put a microphone in front of his face and he doesn't have a story to tell as far as, you know, storyline and pro wrestling, he's straight from the hip nigga. Like he gonna tell him, he gonna tell him what he think.
Yeah, you're gonna keep it real. It's interesting.
I just feel like at the end of the day, and I know I'm gonna take a hit for this, but what the hell? At the end of the day,
get your comments ready.
It comes down to like Will Ospreay saying what he's saying. He didn't say anything wrong. The reality is this: you know who we should be looking at? We should be looking at creative and Tony for not having Swerve feel that way. I mean, also too, Swerve plays a part in that too.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you a question though. If that's the case, did Swerve feel out of place in the main event?
I mean, he's the champion, so the champion should be there, right? So I don't feel like
no, that's fine. But if you slap the goddamn championship on Miz and he's in the main event, I don't care if he's a champion or not, nigga. You should have been like before intermission, or you should have started the show, nigga. I don't want you at my main event. It's like how they had at the NXT joint at Mania weekend, where they had, you know, the championship didn't need to main event.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So my question is, did Swerve feel out of place in the main event? Is it cuz ain't here? Because we ain't never talked about this nigga this much.
Well, I've been chuckling to myself. But I wasn't even trying to get into all this early. And again, DDM, this is what I was saying. You talking about it? This is Black Wrestling Podcast. Ain't no. It's an early night when it's one nigga doing the whole show. I did that before. It's like a 20-minute pod. Trust me, I don't like doing it. Nah, I don't. To answer Fam's question, I don't think it's that Swerve may not feel like he's in that main event because he's been wrestling within that level for about a year now. I think, you know, roughly about it. Whenever the Swerve's House shit really started taking off, he's been moving towards that spot. But like all the shit with Adam Page and whatnot. I think what ended up was up,
which isn't over.
Well, exactly. That it's got to be coming back soon. He's not been around for a minute. There was too much shit going on, and I think part of that shit during his reign, people was trying to figure out what Mercedes Moné was doing. During his reign, you also got Okada and Will Ospreay, and regardless of like in a lot of them weeks, you would get a Swerve Strickland match to open a Dynamite. And then it was like that 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30 hour was the Will Ospreay match. They did it like 2-3 weeks in a row, and then he won the title, and he's just been a part of the show. I'm not saying that they don't treat Swerve like a champion, because when he's wrestling at the end of the show when it's time for him to defend the title, and let the AEW talking heads talk it. They're calling that one of the best main event pay-per-view matches in AEW history. I've not watched the whole thing. I can't say boo about that, but I think there's been Tony Khan shit going on, the Jack Perry shit going on. Outside of all this, there was a whole forbidden door. I didn't even count how many titles ran in and out of that UBS arena that night. I think he's been. It's not a good time to try and establish. Damian Priest has been given more time to be out there as like a world champion than Swerve Strickland is on shows where there's a lot going on. I think it's just too much shit.
So basically,
I agree.
What you're saying, Cal, in a very nice way, is that Swerve Strickland is not a star.
I wouldn't say not a star. I would say, to go back to Fam's question, I don't think he is. I don't think it's about being in the main event, just like Cal said. I don't think it's about being in the main event. I think overall, he just does not feel like a champion. And I didn't think about all those things because I don't really watch the product with being objective watching it. I'm watching it subjectively. Right. So I don't.
That's real. Shouts out honesty.
It is. Listen, it is what it is. So when you point out all these ticks, yeah, he doesn't feel like a big deal. We're not talking about him. Yeah. We're not, but I think that's on him. I don't think that's on creative. If creative doesn't have anything for you, you take matters into your own hands. You've been in the business long enough to say and do what you need to do to bring visibility to yourself, to basically quiet the noise and bring yourself to the forefront. But then it does go back to what DDM is saying, is that when you're unable to do that, then your stardom becomes questionable to some aspects.
And the thing is, like, and to counter that, like, I don't want to blame creative totally, but like, I look at somebody like Dijak, who did not get good creative per se, or didn't have the full attention of creative. Right. And I think Dijak is awesome. I personally am
He did a good job of making people talk about him.
Yep.
And regardless if he had bad creative or not, people were talking about him, even if it was false narrative, right? People were talking about him.
He did what he had to do in the ring, and it still wasn't enough for them.
Right.
So maybe
isn't there a weird story about him leaking stuff, and that's really why they got rid of him?
I didn't hear that.
The talk this week?
I've been disconnected, so I don't know.
I didn't see. I could check the whole.
But the one thing I will say before we get out of the championship conversation is, he definitely had the biggest pyramid hat in the backpack rapper cipher. What I'm saying is, Swerve did what the AEW niggas come to see, like he was supposed to. Like, and them niggas, they had one.
That's what I was gonna say. I think maybe what needs to happen right now is the opposite of that. Maybe Swerve needs to now. If they're calling him the world champion, putting on the premier pay-per-view matches in that organization, maybe he needs to start thinking about the other parts of his presentation. Is he cutting memorable promos? Is he, doing those? Does he have an ill vignette idea that is going to make people make them look at him a different way, like the Gresham stuff with the octopus on TNA? I don't know.
And I think it goes beyond that as well. He does have this stink on him that he feels like if he's if he's solely identified as a black wrestler, that he's kind of like, he's stuck in this box. I think once he embraces that, I think things would change a little bit. You know what I mean? And I just think that right now, people don't have a positive narrative. His own people don't have a positive narrative on him right now. And I think he needs to turn that around.
Really? I hear that, Mimi. I just didn't know to what extent it was impacting his reception. And it's weird to me because I understand wanting to be able to perform in all arenas, but you look very black. everything about your look. Like, now, no shade, Apollo Crews looks more all American, and I'm not a black wrestler than Swerve Strickland does.
Mm.
Hey man,
Like,
the only thing that's kind of confusing about this conversation though is when you look at that arena, when he come out,
They turn up. Yeah, they're all
all
that's it.
these.
That's
White
it
boys.
though. But the white grandmas. But like it's like I don't want to say it's WWE WCW, but I mean, you know, if you got a song that's over and the because CEO until they started booing her Sunday night for whatever reason, when that CEO song, and if you go to the arena, them people gonna chant that song. They gonna chant whatever they supposed to chant. And I don't know if that's I hate to use the word. I don't know if that's tribalism. I don't know what that is, but it feels like they get into the shit they're supposed to be getting into.
I think it's tribalism. Because they want, what I do appreciate about AEW fans, they like to make sure that you know they love AEW. You know, especially live. Like, they want you to know, yeah, you talking shit about us, but we live over here. But what they do also let sink in is when they get tired real quick.
We are so
the hype.
I can't wait
down
to
very
where we
fast.
going with this.
Is that what's going on with Mercedes Moné?
Yes.
Oh, we gonna go here now.
Well, I'm asking the question, but I just watched that match in particular, and it was interesting to see. Because I mean, this is kind of the conversation we're having right now. She walked into that ring. They were chanting CEO. She was smiling. They was doing I have an idea of what I think turned the crowd, and I think it's pretty perverted. But whatever the case may be, once that thing happened, it was.
Don't say
What
it.
you? I don't know what the move's called. Shouts out Stephanie Vacker. They pronounce her last name 3 different ways. She got a move where she takes Mercedes. They're like both on all fours, and she has Mercedes' head in like her shins, and she's bouncing her butt and legs up, and then slamming her head into the mat. She did this shit like 6-7 times. I'm pretty sure I heard the crowd going up for that. This is AEW. There were too many pictures of people taking pictures of a Sky Blue's butt in front row for me to not think there's some hornballs in there. But after that, it was fuck those Celtics. I think it was fuck those Red Sox. Whenever she and then it was whenever she was getting moves over on Stephanie, it was boos.
I think that it's.
I'm gonna let y'all finish.
I mean, there's also other things about the match.
I don't think it's the match. I just think that it's just been a trajectory of things, and I think that I just really want to preface this that I look at pro wrestling. I do have fandom for certain talent, but when it ain't hitting, it ain't hitting. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and just be like the big dog was the bee's knees of 2015, 16, and 17. I'm not gonna sit here and say that. Was I still fanning the bullshit? Yes, I was fanning the bullshit because he was working through those things. Mm-hmm. But I don't think a lot of people look at pro wrestling in that lens. And I think when it comes to Sasha Banks, because she has such a long history and such a she's still very young and accomplished so much that I think people are afraid to say certain things, and I think that she is one of the best wrestlers in the world, women wrestlers in the world, because you need to identify yourself as, I personally believe that you need to categorize yourself before
you get to that position.
You get to that position. And I think what has always had me in a little like, is she never wanted to be the best women's wrestler. She always wanted to be the best wrestler. And I think that needs to be embraced before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you have all these achievements and everything, and people go up for you, and her fans go up for her all the time, and this going in, I wanted the narrative to stick. But everything just seems like nobody really wants to say anything, but it's not hitting.
Well, because I think
even the wrestling is great, but it still didn't turn anything around.
This match. Well, some of the chorus of boos were from people who were looking at this match as probably a meh performance from her, especially in regards to like botches and some of the in the finish. There was some missed stuff as well. But I think it's hard to say it's not hitting when they've invested so much. Like she was everywhere last week. Nessa was interviewing her. I thought it was a Rosenberg interview. Nah, she got the 3:00 spot at Hot 97 or whatever the afternoon drive. She was everywhere talking to everybody. But I heard her say she was talking to Shane McMahon. She was saying WWE was trying to they were booking her for house shows when she could have been filming for The Mandalorian. She was talking about people saying that she was unsafe after the Soraya situation about 6-7 years ago. Like she was.
I remember that. I didn't think that was fair.
When that's what she said, it sent her into a depressive state. But I mentioned all that to say they're trying to get that return on investment. It's hard to you can't be that real when she's about to be 2 belts Monet and about to start feuding with Britt Baker. She is right now, and we're recording this during Dynamite. They're probably gonna advance that storyline tonight. They've got a 2 belts Monet celebration, and Britt Baker's supposed to also be there.
I mean, the truth of the thing is Sasha Banks' whole career, Mercedes Moné, whatever you call her, she's never been great as the good guy, right?
Right.
Her best stuff. I mean, in ring, she's fairly, you can't really say much about in ring, but character-wise, she's only really been entertaining as a heel.
Facts.
So I mean, it felt like this is the way they've been going. You know what I mean? She felt heelish against Willow, of course, and then this was Forbidden Door is a weird thing, right? Because it's a thing that happens, and they let title changes happen, but it's like a house show that count, but is other niggas that get to come to the barbecue But this isn't. Listen, 2 belts Monet ain't a good guy thing. And
I hope they lead into her being a heel.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. I absolutely agree with Fam on this one. Go figure. But I think that this is definitely getting ready to be a heel run for Mercedes.
Right.
And I agree with Fam in that she is a heel. And I think, I don't know this lady personally, but something about her energy just screams she's a heel in real life. And it's something about this lady that just screams, I'm a heel in real life. I've never, and like I said, I want to preface that I don't know this lady. I don't know Mercedes Varnado from a can of paint, but from the interviews, from fan reactions, interactions, things like that, it's just giving me this is a heel in real life, and she plays a heel, and this is why it works for her. Some people are method actors. Some people can play any role you put in front of them. She's definitely a method actor. She got to live what she does. Okay? And the thing is this, too. With the return of Brittany, first of all, she looked the fuck good. I don't care what nobody say. You can say what you want. That's WWE quality look right there. And that's just the reality. She looked the fuck good.
Like Shawn Michaels.
Brittany good. Whatever, she looked the fuck good. When she came out there and they gave her the good pyro, Mercedes had pyro,
yeah, they did.
Brittany had pyro. Okay,
yeah, they did that.
And when she came out, and being a person who, when I was watching AEW very heavily, it was during Britt Baker's run when she had storyline, her and Rebel, and all of those girls. And I know everybody does not love Brittany. But I believe in Brittany, and I think that Brittany does good work. And that's just the bottom line. Is she the best wrestler in the world? No. But overall, when I look at everything, she's good enough in the ring, and sometimes she's really good in the ring, especially the match with her and the Bunny. But Brittany is the level of talent that Mercedes needs to have. The rest of those girls, and I don't want to throw a whole locker room under the bus.
Yeah.
You have Toni Storm over here. I'm sorry, Toni, but your belt is about to be the number 2 belt, because with Brittany coming back and Brittany and Mercedes going at it, Mercedes gets to get in her heel bag. This is about to be very fun. I might actually tune in this time.
Oh shit!
It's not right. But Britt Baker is the level of talent. Number one, she's going to get Mercedes' ass on that mic, because Brittany on the mic is good.
It's one of the few.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, when you say she's the talent that she would have, I go straight to the in-ring, and so I don't think that Britt Baker is great in the ring, but character-wise, because she's not good in the ring, it's not that I wasn't receptive of the character, because I just felt like, but you're not even good in the ring. So, but then when I saw Chelsea Green, and I kind of feel like maybe they might mimic each other because they are friends-ish. So I kind of felt like, oh, okay.
Never mind.
Because the character supersedes the in-ring, maybe you can be like me. Like, oh, I love Chelsea Green.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she's not good, but I love Chelsea Green. But then I don't want Britt Baker to go over on Mercedes, because it just wouldn't make sense.
It's going to happen.
She has to. The reason why she has to, because you can love Mercedes down, but Britt Baker, no shade, when it comes to that women's division, she is the girl in that division. She's the girl that bought, I'm not going to say, she bought eyes. Like when I was watching AEW when its first peak, because I don't want to put a company into the ground, but when I was watching AEW during its first peak, Britt Baker was getting reactions on level with the Chris Jerichos, on level with the John Moxley. She was right up there with them in crowd reaction. Like I said, that match, I believe it was with the Bunny, the blood match that they had with the tax and shit. The feud that she had with Thunder Rosa was
Rosa was another one. Yeah.
When Britt had that belt was desirable. Mm-hmm. And that's just the reality. Is Britt, Serena Deeb in the ring? No. But guess what?
People were talking about her. You know what
I'm saying? She's good enough. Like, I feel like Brittany in the ring with Mercedes, because Mercedes is really good in the ring, right? And Brittany is sound and sufficient enough that I feel like Brittany and Mercedes will both give the character in the matches that the story needs to tell, the match needs to tell.
Right.
Mercedes can handle the technical proficiency of it. And it'll be really fun. And also, too, what they're doing low-key, which might get viewers back, is no matter how much Mercedes want to say that she's a global bitch, people are going to be looking at this as WWE versus AEW.
Mm-hmm. It is.
That's the bottom line. Mercedes needs to understand, and she probably will block me on Twitter or whatever, but girl, you are a WWE product. That's the reality. And people are going to look, you can go to these other promotions and do well, but you are a WWE product. You are tied to a faction of women who are iconic and are future Hall of Famers. You are a WWE product. And no matter where you go, you're going to be associated with that.
That's right.
Interesting.
Bottom line, flat out. So I
think that's more of a perception thing, though. I think that's more of a perception thing, because I think, she's an indie. She started off as an indie girl. So I think wherever you meet these people is usually who they are to you. But I think she's known as the wrestler, though. I think that's why she lost so much in WWE, is because she was known more so as the great hand than the person out front. She unfortunately was there at the same time as Charlotte Flair. So, you know what I'm saying? You always got the hand, and then you got the one that's the man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what her situation is. And I think that may work for like niggas that say, oh, she's more of a pro wrestling chick in general because she didn't really win at WWE. I mean, you can have an and argument both ways, but I think it's just really a perception thing. Wherever you met her in the road is probably how folks are going to see it.
And I think that's fair too, fam. I think that's a very astute observation. I think for me, you already know how I am. I look at it like show business. And girl, no matter where Alfonso Ribeiro go, that's Carlton.
That's Carlton.
You can be Toyota Monget, Mercedes Moné, Kia Honda, bitch.
What was his name on Silver Spoon?
We don't know.
We don't.
He didn't have an ill name on Silver Spoon.
I thought it might have just been Alfonso.
Damn, that's
you know how they used to do that with.
Yeah.
You know, like how Flex keep getting to be Flex in movies. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought he had one of them deals. It's what else? It's another.
He was
always Tommy Ford always got to be Tommy in movies too. Like, how you?
He was Alfonso Spears from seasons 3 to 5 on Silver Spoons. God damn.
Now I used to watch Ricky Schroeder, but I never called it Silver Spoons. I called it Ricky Schroeder.
I can watch Ricky Schroeder.